بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome everyone to another explanation of Alfiyyah ibn Maalik. Today, inshallah ta'ala, we're going to take a look at Bab al-Istighatha, the chapter of al-Istighatha. The Imam ibn Maalik rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, إذا استغيث اسم منادا خفضا باللام مفتوحا كيا للمرتضى وافتح مع المعطوف إن كررت يا وفي سوى ذلك بالكسر ائتيا ولام ما استغيث عاقبت ألف ومثله اسم ذو تعجب ألف. Now these three lines of poetry may seem a little difficult to comprehend at first glance, but inshallah ta'ala we hope that by the end of the video it will become crystal clear. Just take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel and share amongst your friends so that we know that this type of content interests you. So let's begin with the explanation of this chapter. Bismillah. Before we begin with the actual explanation of these abyat, these lines of poetry, we have to first understand the meaning of the word istighatha. The root letters of this word come from the letters ghain, waw, and tha. And according to Al-Raghib Al-Asfahani, Sahib al-Mufradat, Al-Fadh al-Quran, he says that this word, it is said that it means nusra, to support, to assist, or to help. Now, with the addition of the letters alif, sin, and ta, this word now takes the meaning of to seek support, to seek assistance, and to seek help. Okay, the conjugation of this word in its verb form is istaghatha, the madin, past tense, yastaghithu, present tense, istaghith, amr, command, and istighathatan, which is the verbal noun, masdar. Examples of how this word is used in the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jalla, he says in Surah Al-Anfal, إِذْ تَسْتَغِيثُونَ رَبَّكُمْ, remember when you sought help of your Lord. And he says in another portion of the Quran, Surah Al-Qasas, فَاسْتَغَاثَهُ الَّذِي مِنْ شِيعَتِهِ عَلَى الَّذِي مِنْ عَدُوِّهِ. The man of his own party asked him for help against his foe. So this is how the word is used in the Quran. So you may be asking yourself, what is the difference between this word, istighatha, and isti'ana, which is another word to mean seeking help? Well, istighatha is akhassu fil ma'na. It is more specific. It takes the meaning of desperately seeking aid, desperately seeking assistance in times of hardship. Okay? This is the context in which this word is used. While isti'ana is more it's more general. It is seeking aid in times of hardship, and it also can be used in times of ease as well. Now that we understand the meaning of istighatha, let's take a look at how istighatha is used or expressed in the Arabic language. In this type of sentence, there are a few working parts. First, you have the harfun nida, which is always going to be ya. Ya is always used in the istighatha phrase. Next, you have harfu jar, lam. But the lam, it has a fatha on it. And that's key to remember. After this lam with a fatha on it, you have the mustaghath bihi. This is the person that you are seeking aid in. Next you have another harf jar, lam, but this time the lam will have a kasra. And then finally you will have the mustaghath lahu. So the template of this type of phrase will look like this. You have the ya, once again ya, la, lam with the fatha, la, the mustaghath bihi, la, lam with the kasra, and then mustaghath lahu. Now as you can see, the lam with the fatha, it's attached to the mustaghath bihi. And the lam with the kasra is attached to mustaghath lahu. Let's now move on to the explanation of these abyat. Ibn Malik rahimahullah ta'ala, he says once again, إذا استغيث اسم منادا خفضا باللام مفتوحا كيا للمرتضى. He says here that the ism munada, or the mustaghath bihi, the noun that's being called on for help, whenever that noun is being called on for help, right, istughitha, then that ism munada or the mustaghath bihi enters into the state of khafd or jar. Okay, it's going to be makhfud بالكسرة or مخفوض بالياء نيابة عن الكسرة or غير ذلك. Okay, main thing is that it's entering into the state of khafd. Alright, however the word is constructed. What is making that ism munada or mustaghath bihi enter into the state of khafd? It is billami. Okay, a lam has entered before it. Alright, a lam precedes that word, making that word enter into the state of khafd or jar. Alright, then he clarifies the shakl, the diacritical marker on that lam. He says that it is maftuhan, billami maftuhan. Yani that lam will have a fatha on it. Not a dhamma, not a kasra, not a sukoon. Rather, that lam will have a fatha on it, and it will make the word that comes after it, the ism munada, enter into the state of khafd. It is going to be makhfood, okay, or majroor. طيب. Then he goes on to give an example by saying ka, like ya lal murtada. Alright, here you have the lam with fatha. And murtada, of course, you cannot see the kasra on this word, nor can you see any other sign of khafd. However, it's intended, it's implied. طيب. Let's take a look at some examples that will make this line of poetry even clearer. The first sentence we have here is Ya lallahi lil muslimin, which is a statement that has been attributed to Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, in which he says, O Allah, aid the Muslims. You take a look at this sentence, we have the harf nida, which is ya here. Then you have the lam that is maftuhan. Lam maftuhan. See the lam highlighted in green? It has a fatha on it. And then we have the ism munada or the mustaghath bihi, Allah, lafzul jalala, subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you notice, because Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the ism munada, yani the mustaghath bihi, and it's preceded by the lam with fatha, Allah, lafzul jalala, now enters into the state of khafd. It is makhfood bil kasra. Right, you see the kasra right here, highlighted in blue. Okay, it is the ism munadan khufida. It is the ism munadan that has been changed into the state of khafd. Why? Because of the lam maftuhan. Alright, bil lami maftuhan. And this is an example of al-istighatha in the Arabic language. Another example, Ya lan nasi lil ghariq. Ya lan nasi lil ghariq. Everyone, save the drowning person. Okay, once again we have harfun nidat, the ya here. We have the la with the fatha, bil lami maftuhan. And then we have the ism munadan or the mustaghath bihi, which is an-nas. And if we take a look at the word, it's in the state of what? Khafd. Okay, it's makhfood bil kasrah. Why? Because of the lam with fatha that precedes it. Lil ghariqi. The meaning of this statement is what? Everyone save the drowning person. Alright, you're seeking aid in the mustaghath bihi. The mustaghath lahu is the ghariq. Riyadh billah, la qadar Allah. The person who is drowning. Another example, Ya la Zaydin lil waladi. Zayd, help the child. O Zayd, help the child. Alright, once again, harfun nida, ya is being used here. We have the la with the fatha on it. And then the mustaghath bihi, or the ism munadan. Okay, it is khufid. It enters in the state of khafd. Why? Because of the lam. Right, we see here is makhfood or majroor bil kasra. And of course, lil waladi being the mustaghath lahu. And the last example is Ya lal harisi lil madlumi. O God, help the oppressed. Once again, harfun nida, ya. The la that is maftuhan, right? Al-haris is the ism munada, right? It's the mustaghath lahu, and because la precedes it, it enters into the state of khafd. And of course you have the mustaghath lahu being lil madlumi. In the last line of poetry, the author, rahimahullah ta'ala, he taught us how to express istighatha in the Arabic language. Alright, more specifically, he taught us how to express istighatha in one person. يا لله للمسلمين يا للناس للغريق يا لزيد للولد. Okay, in one person or group of people. In the second line of poetry, the author rahimahullah ta'ala, he's going to teach us how to seek assistance in more than one person. In more than one person. Alright? He says here, وافتح مع المعطوف إن كررت يا وفي سوى ذلك بالكسر ائتيا. وافتح مع المعطوف إن كررت يا وفي سوى ذلك بالكسر ائتيا. What does this mean? It means that with the mustaghath bihi awwal, the first person you're going to seek assistance in, is going to remain the same as we learned in the last line of poetry. Now, if you wanted to add someone else, if you wanted to seek assistance in someone else, how do you express that in the Arabic language? He says, وَافْتَعْ مَعَ الْمَعْطُوفِ إِن كَرَرْتَ يَا. So what happens is that, of course, you're going to add a waw, meaning an. Right? Now, if you decide to mention ya, once again, ya, you repeat the ya. Here's the first ya, here's the second ya. If you repeat this second ya, in kararta ya, what happens to the lam attached to the second, yani mustaghath bihi thanin, the second mustaghath bihi, the lam has to take a fatha, waftah. Alright? So we say, wa ya lal muslihin. Okay? Ya lal ulama'i, wa ya lal muslihin lil shabab. O scholars, O learned men, and all those who are able to rectify situations like the police, the askari, the muaddibun, educators, parents, etc. Anyone who's able to rectify a situation, aid the shabab, aid the youth. Alright, so we're seeking assistance in not only the ulama, but also the muslihin. Alright, because the ya is repeated, what happens to the lam is that it takes a fatha. So we say, يا للعلماء ويا للمصلحين للشباب. Alright? And not ويا للمصلحين. لا. ويا للمصلحين with a fatha. Because the ya is mentioned. Likewise, another example. يا للطبيب ويا للممرض للمريض. O doctor and O nurse, help the sick, help the patient. Aid the patient. Alright? Here, of course, we have harf nida, ya, للطبيب, مخفوض, بالكسرة, right, because of the lam, harf jar. Of course, the lam has a fatha on it. Now, we're going to seek assistance in another mustaghath bihi, alright, so we add the waw, and here the ya is mentioned again. Ya. So because the ya is repeated, in kararta ya, it's repeated, what happens is waftah ma'al ma'tufi. The lam receives a fatha on it. Alright, and the mustaghath bihi, of course, thanin is of course going to be makhfud as well. So this is the rule that he's explaining to us in this first line of poetry. Okay? The first half of the second line of poetry. Now, what happens if you don't repeat the ya? Let's say if you don't repeat the ya. What happens to that lam? He explains in the second half, he says, وَفِي سِوَى ذَلِكَ بِالْكَسْرِ ائْتِيَا. Yani in any other instance, where this ya is not mentioned for the mustaghath bihi thanin, then that lam that once had fatha will now always take kasra, bil kasri. Alright? So take a look at an example here. Same exact sentence, however, we've deleted ya. Ya lil ulama'i, right? Same thing as the first. Wa lil muslihina lil shabab. Alright? Wa lil muslihin. There's no more ya, or the ya is not mentioned. So because the ya is not mentioned, وَفِي سِوَى ذَلِكَ بِالْكَسْرِ ائْتِيَا. Yani we bring the kasra. We place a kasra on the lam and we say وَلِلْمُصْلِحِينَ. يَا لَلطَّبِيبِ وَلِلْمُمَرِّضِ لِلْمَرِيضِ. Once again, harf nida along with the la wa fatha, and tabib is makhfud bil kasra. Okay, because of the lam, harf jar. Next we have harf atf, the waw. Now there's no more ya, right? We didn't mention the ya here. So what happens to the lam? The lam that's attached to the mustaghath bihi thanin, it now takes a kasra instead of a fatha. So we say walil mumarridi. وَلِلْمُمَرِّضِ. Alright? لِلْمَرِيضِ. طيب. Let's take a look at line of poetry. Here, the sha'ir, the poet, he says, يَا لَقَوْمِ وَيَا لَأَمْثَالِ قَوْمِ لِأُنَاسٍ عُتُوُّهُمْ فِي ازْدِيَادِ. O my people, and all those who are similar to my people, help and aid those people who have increased in their arrogance, in their haughtiness. Alright? Ya la qawmi, harfun nida. This is the first mustaghath bihi awwal. La qawmi, my people. And then the second is here. Amthali qawmi. Yani, those people were similar to my people. Alright? The waw harf atf is mentioned. And because look, ya here is mentioned here. What happens to the lam? It takes a fatha. Waftah ma'al ma'tufi in kararta ya. Here the ya is repeated. So what happens to the lam? It takes a fatha. And this is what the author, rahimahullah ta'ala, is explaining in this second line of poetry under this bab. Now the author is going to teach us another way of expressing istighatha in the Arabic language. And that is without the lam with a fatha attached to the mustaghath bihi. Instead, what's going to happen, he says here, وَلَامُ مَسْتُغِيثَ عَاقَبَتْ أَلِفٍ. He says here that if you do not mention the lam, okay, you add the lam to the mustaghath bihi, then what you can do is عَاقَبَتْ أَلِفٍ, is add an alif at the end of the mustaghath bihi. Alright, so instead of saying يَا لَعَالِمٍ لِلْجَاهِلِ, you can say Ya alima. You add the alif to the mustaghath bihi instead. Lil jahili. O scholar or learned man, help the ignorant one. Ya ustadha. Instead of saying Ya ustadhin, Ya ustadha lil kasal. Alright, so this is another way of expressing istighatha in the Arabic language. قال الشاعر, the poet, he said, يا يزيدا لآمل نيل عز وغنى بعد فاقة وهوان. Says here, O Yazid, help the one hoping to attain honor and wealth after he's experienced poverty and degradation. Alright, he says here, يا يزيدا. Okay, with the alif. And then the author, rahimahullah ta'ala, ends this chapter by mentioning وَمِثْلُهُ اسْمٌ ذُو تَعَجُّبٍ أُلِفٍ. Basically what he's saying here is that if you wanted to express amazement in something, then you would also use this type of form, the same type of template. Like for example, يَا لَلْمَاءِ. Okay, if you were amazed at the amount of water that was around you, you would say يَا لَلْمَاءِ. Alright, it's a form of amazement. And this is the meaning of his statement, وَمِثْلُهُ اسْمٌ ذُو تَعَجُّبٍ أُلِفٍ. And with that, we've explained these three lines found in this chapter of istighatha in Alfiyyah ibn Maalik. We hope that this explanation has been clear and to the point, and we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept it from us all. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك اللهم أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Please do not forget to share and subscribe and to like this video as well. جزاكم الله خيرا. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.